some people are comparing Donald Trump to Ronald Reagan. Now, what did we hear? Well, we heard that Ford Motor Company is building a $1.6 billion plant in Mexico. And they're going to hire 2,800 Mexicans to build small Fords. So no small Ford will be built in America. They'll all be built in Mexico. And all those folks that worked for Ford building those small Fords will be unemployed, or the majority of them will be unemployed. Now, I don't know how many of you know this, but what Donald's proposed is a 35% tariff on any small Ford brought back in to be sold in America. This is, again, in line with another past president. Some of you may not remember this, but back in 1983, Ronald Reagan saved Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson was experiencing incredibly poor sales against Japanese imports. And what Ronald Reagan did was he imposed a surcharge on Japanese imports. And what that did is it made the Japanese motorcycles non-competitive, which in turn saved Harley-Davidson. I have a Harley-Davidson. I'm glad Ronald Reagan did that, otherwise I wouldn't have a Harley-Davidson. The American people need to rally behind Donald Trump. And any American that buys a small Ford that's made in Mexico will not be doing the American people a good service. I don't think that they'll be competitively priced. If Donald does what he says he'll do if he becomes president by imposing a 35% surcharge on Fords brought into this country to be sold in this country, it'll put Ford out of business for their small vehicles. It should also impact them on their larger vehicles as well. What amazes me is the shareholders of Ford probably are okay with this because it'll improve their investment in the company. But how insane is it? If everyone buys products made elsewhere, we're not going to have any workers here in the United States. What do you think that'll do? Donald needs to become president. Donald needs to impose a 35% surcharge, not only on Ford, but on air conditioning companies. Any company that produces products elsewhere and sells them here should be severely punished financially. And the monies should be offset to those workers that created the companies that threw them to the curb. I'm going to attach a link. You'll be able to read all about what Ronald Reagan did back in 1983. It's no different than what Donald wants to do in 2007. He said it. You want to build your plant elsewhere? Go ahead and do it. But you're going to pay a tariff bringing them back into this country. We need Donald in the Oval Office. Hillary or Michael would be a nightmare, or any other Democrat would be a nightmare. You think not? Well, you're entitled to your own opinion. I think after you read the attached link, you might sort of begin to think the way I do. we need Donald in the White House. Thanks for listening. And Ford, you're going down if Donald becomes POTUS.